My parents gave my sister the company I built for 10 years, so I let their lawyer read the Real will. I don't even know where to start with this, but I guess I'll just go back to the beginning because otherwise it won't make sense. I grew up in a small town in the Midwest, the kind where everyone knows everyone and people keep their lives pretty close to family. My parents weren't rich, but they owned a small construction company that my grandfather started after the war. It was never a huge business, more of a community staple. My dad ran crews, my mom did the books, and when my sister and I were kids, we'd go hang out in the office after school. It was nothing glamorous, but it was honest work and it kept food on the table. When I was in college, I studied business, not because I had some master plan, but because I thought maybe I could help my parents modernize the company. They were still using paper invoices and word-of-mouth advertising. After I graduated, I came home, got involved full-time, and basically spent the next decade trying to turn the little shop into something bigger. I worked insane hours, rebuilt the website, invested in new software, hired people who could handle social media, went out into the community to land new contracts, and slowly we started growing. By the time I was in my early 30s, the company was making more money than it ever had in my parents' lifetime. My sister, on the other hand, wanted nothing to do with it. She was always the golden child, though. She's 2 years younger, and growing up she was the one my parents praised constantly. I don't mean they ignored me completely, but it was obvious she was the favorite. She was athletic, got good grades, and she's very charming. People naturally like her. I was more of the quiet one. So while I was working weekends and pulling 12-hour days building this business, my sister was moving from job to job, living in different cities, and figuring herself out. There's nothing wrong with that, but she never contributed to the company at all. As my parents got older, I started talking to them about the future of the company. They always said something like, "One day this will all be yours." I took that to heart. I thought I was building something not just for me, but for the family. I didn't take big vacations, I didn't buy a fancy house, I just kept putting everything back into the business. I figured if I worked hard now, I'd have stability later and my parents could retire comfortably. Then a couple of years ago, my dad got sick. It wasn't sudden, but it was serious enough that it forced a lot of conversations. My mom leaned on me to take over more responsibilities, which I did gladly. During that time, my dad and I had a few emotional talks where he thanked me for keeping the company alive. He told me more than once that he was proud of me, which meant everything, because I didn't hear that a lot growing up. He also said he'd been working with their lawyer to make sure the business would transition to me officially. I trusted him and didn't push for details. My dad passed away last year. It was rough, but I poured myself into the company because I didn't know what else to do with my grief. Then came the shock of my life. A couple of months after the funeral, my mom sat me and my sister down in the living room. She told us that she had decided to transfer ownership of the company to my sister because she needed it more. I swear I almost laughed because I thought it was some kind of twisted joke. My sister literally had no idea how the company even functioned. She didn't know the employees, didn't know the contracts, didn't know anything. But my mom said she wanted to keep things fair, and that since I was doing fine on my own, it was only right that my sister get a chance. I can't even describe the mix of emotions I felt in that moment. 10 years of sweat, sacrifice, and loyalty just erased with a snap of her fingers. My sister looked almost smug, like she'd just won some prize. I felt betrayed in a way I didn't even think was possible. I walked out of that house without saying much because I was scared I'd explode and say something I couldn't take back. For weeks, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the late nights, the times I missed birthdays and holidays, all because I thought I was building something for the family. My mom stopped answering my calls when I tried to discuss it. My sister started showing up at the office, acting like she was in charge, even though the employees clearly didn't respect her. It was humiliating. Then one afternoon I got a call from the lawyer my dad had worked with before he died. He wanted to check in about the company transition. I told him what my mom had decided, and he sounded surprised. He asked if I had actually seen the documents my dad signed before he passed. I said no. He asked me to come to his office. That meeting changed everything. My dad had left a will. A real one. Not just verbal promises. In it, he explicitly stated that the company was to be given to me, not my sister, not divided up, not shared. He thanked me in writing for dedicating myself to it and said he wanted me to carry it forward. He even added protections to make sure nobody could override that without legal grounds. My mom knew about this but had chosen not to acknowledge it. She thought she could just ignore the will and hand things over to my sister because she controlled the paperwork at the office. The lawyer explained that what my mom was doing wasn't just unfair, it wasn't legal. He asked if I wanted to enforce the will. I was torn because on one hand, this was my dad's dying wish and everything I had worked for. On the other hand, I knew enforcing it would blow up whatever relationship I still had with my mom and sister. It would turn into a battle, maybe even end the family completely. After thinking it over for a long time, I told him to move forward. I couldn't let everything be stolen from me. The next time we all met, this time in the lawyer's office, my mom and sister were blindsided when he read the will out loud. My mom looked furious. My sister looked embarrassed. And for the first time in years, I felt like the truth was finally on my side. It wasn't about greed. It was about respecting what my dad wanted and what I had built with my own hands. Since then, it's been tense. My mom barely talks to me. My sister posted a bunch of cryptic stuff online about betrayal and family turning on her. Some extended relatives are taking sides. But the company is legally mine now. I've kept it running, I've kept the employees on, and I've kept honoring my dad's vision. It still hurts knowing my mom valued appearances of fairness over the reality of what I did for the family. And it hurts that my sister thinks she's a victim in all this when she never lifted a finger. I don't know where things go from here. Maybe in time they'll forgive me, maybe not. But I know this. My dad trusted me, he believed in me, and I wasn't going to let his final wishes be tossed aside because my mom wanted to protect her favorite. For once in my life, I stood up for myself, and even though it's cost me some family ties, I think it's what I had to do.